Intermediate students to another intermediate lesson at learnpianolive.com. This is an intermediate lesson, so the assumption is that you can probably play a couple songs at least well enough to impress a couple friends. You might have some basic understanding of music theory or something, but you really haven't had any formal training. So if that's you, you're in the right place. If you feel, throughout this lesson like it's way too advanced, you might want to go back and check out yesterday's lesson. It's in the archives, the beginner's version of this lesson. That might answer a lot of your questions, but feel free to ask away, ask any questions. This is about you and me, so you got to ask questions so I know, how to help you best. And there's a couple other things I want to talk to you too about before this countdown clock hits 0. All right, first and most important, ask a lot of questions. The way that you're going to do that is there's a couple different ways. You can jump in the chat room and talk with the other students who are logged in at the same time. I'll be watching the chat room too. You can ask your questions there. Or if it's a question that's just for me, a question about the lesson, especially if you know it's one that's going to fit best at the question and answer time at the end, then you can just put your name and your question in the box below this video, click submit, and then I will get that. Now, if you're already in the archives, if you're watching this not live, but you're watching this in the archives, then make sure at the end of the lesson you click on the survey button. You don't have to fill out the entire survey. If you want to, I'd love your feedback, but really the best part of that is that you can put your question in there, and then when you click submit, then I will get all of your questions. I'll make sure that you get them answered, whether you're in the archives or you're live. Right next to this video, there should be a PDF button and an MP3 button. Now, you don't really need those till after the lesson because I'm going to be showing you on screen the PDF and showing you how to use it. And I'll play the MP3 during the lesson too, so you know at the end of the lesson how you're going to use that. Some people, though, like to print out the PDF ahead of time, so as I'm making notes on my version, they can make the same notes on their version, but it works either way. All right, this is perhaps the most important part. You need to leave the lesson when you feel like you're sufficiently challenged. So, I'm teaching these lessons, 12 to 15 lessons a month. Normally, in traditional lessons, you're getting like a lesson every other week or so. So this is just way too much for you to take in. So, the goal is for you to get some little nugget of something that you can really practice on, really work on. Once you feel like you have that, then you really don't need anything else from me. Go practice. That's where this stuff is really gonna happen. You're not going to get through this lesson and be able to play something really well. You're going to get through this lesson and have the information that you need to practice more effectively. That's really the goal here. So don't feel bad about taking off early. If you feel like halfway through the lesson you got as much as you can take in at that time, then go practice that thing, and then come back whenever you've got that thing down, or you're bored with it, or you just want to check out the next topic. Don't forget also that you've got the archives too. So if you want to see one little thing, just repeat it over and over and over. Just give me, hopefully within 24 hours after the lesson, this thing will be up in the archives, so you can just go back and watch it over and over and over and over and just get that little segment down. So today's lesson has a very specific goal. Out of the 8 sectors of musicianship, the one that we're focused on today is theory. So that's all about how music is put together. It's not as much about playing the music as it is understanding the music. So for some people, this is their favorite part. For some people, this is their least favorite part. Very few people have a neutral perspective on theory. But however you feel about it, it's really important. So, you ready? I'm ready. Let's go. All right, we will get there. Here we go. Lesson 381, the mechanics behind the music. So yesterday we talked a lot about song forms and general ideas about structure in music. And today we're going to dive into the exact chords you're going to want to use in each key. So this thing right here just keeps showing up. It just doesn't go away. Let me see if I can get this thing a little bit. There we go. Hopefully that's a little better for you. And no, 1440 by 960. You're gonna change it on me? Boo. All right, Wirecast has changed my settings here. Let me see if I have a 960. I don't. All right, so we'll deal with that later. Anyway, So we're going to talk about the exact chords that we want to play. And this same chart right here, major and the natural minor, diatonic triads, as well as the diatonic seventh chords, just keeps popping up here. So let's dive into that and find out what in the world is going on. This is for each key, I'm listing the chords that you would most likely use. Now, before I get there, moving backwards, right here are the three main points we're supposed to cover today, but all three main points are all in this chart. So your play along is a 32 bar drum track. So go back into yesterday's lesson, you can check that out. I played it wrong once through, and then I played it right once through. It's a specific tempo and a specific number of times through. It's 32 bars, like I said. So it's going to sound like this. And it pretty much sounds like that for 32 bars. So it's not, I don't know, it's not the actual, like it's not a real song. But you all get quite upset with me when I don't give you some type of MP3 play along. So there you go. You've got some drums to play along with, so you've got a little bit of a band. I couldn't really put in a bass part because you're going to be writing the song, and so you have to put that stuff in on your own with your left hand. But what we want to talk about today, common chord patterns, distinguishing form sections, and then common chord variations. And that's a lot of stuff to fit into one lesson, but if we're going to cover everything we need to cover tomorrow, we've got a lot of ground to cover today. So common chord patterns are going to be use these chords right here. If you're in the key of C, the chords that you're going to be most likely to use are C and D minor and E minor and F, and I'll zoom in a little bit here, and G and A minor and B half diminished. Now, I can pretty safely say you can get rid of all of the chords in that column, and you pretty much won't use those unless you're writing a jazz or classical song. Those are not going to really show up very much. But these first, 6 chords are going to show up quite commonly. In fact, in each key, I've given you the chord number. And hopefully if you're in the intermediate lesson, then you're already familiar with this. In the key of C, the 1 chord is a C chord. And then the 2 chord in the key of C is going to be a D chord. Now that's because it's the second note up. If this is 1, that's going to be 2. So your C chord built on C would be the 1. Your D chord built on the D would be your 2 chord, and it's minor because there's only 3 half steps between the first note and the second note, or between the 1 and the 3. This first one has 4 half steps between the 1 and the 3. Let me jump backwards a little bit. So we've got in the C major chord, we've got from this one, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps between the bottom 2 notes, and that's what makes that thing major, is that 4 half step gap right there. This one right here, staying inside the key, we've got 1, 2, 3 half steps in between the 1 and the 3 of the D minor, and that's what makes it the D minor instead of the D major. If we put 4 half steps in there, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a D major chord right there, but it would go outside of the key, so it would sound kind of weird because you'd be in the key of C, but you'd have this F sharp and it would sound kind of out of place. So it'd be, you know, like every time you got to that chord, it feels like something's out of place. So that's why you want to, that feels a lot safer, a lot more at home. So when you're in the key of C, you want to use all white notes because those are the notes from the key of C. And that means that you're going to be playing C's and D minors and E minors and F's and G's and A minors, because if you use, like for example, an E flat, obviously that's going to go outside of the key. So you wouldn't play like an E flat major chord. That's not in the key of C. It's not diatonic to the key of C. Or if you played like, for example, And like we already talked about, the D major instead of a D minor, that's going to go outside of the key. Don't want to use that one. An F minor instead of a major, that's F. That'd be F minor. You wouldn't want to use that one because that would also go outside of the key. So you would use the F major. So that's kind of what determines the major and minor qualities of each of these chords, is which one of those versions of the chord is going to stay inside the key that you're trying to play it. So in the key of C, we're going to use all of those chords, and the most common chord progressions that you're going to see are going to include the 1, the 4, the 5, and the 6. And that's going to account for, man, a lot of music. It's just the 1, the 4, the 5, and the 6 of each of these keys. So the 1 of C is going to be C. The 4 of C is going to be F. The 5 of C is going to be G. And the 6 of C is going to be this A minor here. And so no matter what key you're playing in, you're just going to follow those columns, and that will be the most common chords to use in that key. So you'll be pretty safe in putting those chords in any order and having it sound like a song. So in the key of F, for example, you could use an F and a B flat and a C and a D minor in almost any combination, and it'll sound like a pretty decent song. I don't even remember what that was. I think it was 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 6, 5. So putting these in almost any random order will create something that sounds kind of musical-ish. So you just pick your key and then use those chords, the 1, the 4, the 5, and the 6, and you'll be pretty safe. Like I said, you're not really going to use the 7 that much. That's pretty much reserved for other stuff. Now, for jazz and classical. For this column over here, if you're a little more advanced, you're wanting to play a song in a minor key, then you can use these. So in the key of C minor, then a C minor shows up in that key. A D half diminished is going to show up in that key. And honestly, in a minor key, you're probably more likely to use this half diminished chord than you would be to use a 7 over here. So if you're in a minor key, pretty much any of these is open season. It could be used. There we go. There's not really one that you wouldn't use. The 2 probably would be the least common in pop music to use, but yeah, it's going to be a lot more common to use this half diminished chord here than this half diminished chord here. All right, so then that is our common chord patterns, and then distinguishing form sections. So we didn't talk much about this yesterday, but if you've got, for example, a 8-bar verse, we'll go right here, where that's going to be our verse, and that's going to be our chorus. So if your verse goes, let's say 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6. If this is your verse and this is your chorus, it's going to be really hard to distinguish the two of them. It's going to be hard to tell that something new has happened because you haven't done anything new with the chords. So what I would recommend is repeat whenever you come up with a nice little chord pattern that you like, repeat that pattern within that section. And then once you change sections, like we talked about yesterday, once you change sections, then try something new, especially as the first chord. So like, for example, a 1, 4, 6, 5 would be a different thing right down here, but it starts out almost exactly the same, so it's not going to really sound different until you really get into it. What you want is, on those form section changes, you want something that really distinguishes it from what you did before. So if you end on a 6 here, if you got 1, 4, 5, 6, you can still use the same chords, but try going 5, 4, 1, 6, or something like that. So that's entirely different. Even though it's the same exact chords that we were using a second ago, it's an entirely different order, a different pattern than you were using before, using those four. So try that. Now, the thing that's going to take the most time in this lesson, or at least the concept that's going to be the most difficult, is going to be the common chord variations. So let me open up the chat window here, so I can hopefully respond to some of the questions I know we're going to get as we are in it. There we go. Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, cool. I think we're safe now. So then, common chord variations. If any of this was confusing for you so far, this is going to be crazy. If that was all easy sailing so far, then we might be we might be all right. The first thing you want to do is experiment with the opposite chord quality as the one that is in the key diatonically. So, for example, in the key of C, you're supposed to use an F. An F minor might be an interesting variation to try to use. I'm going to zoom out for you here. So we're going to try using an F minor here instead of an F major. If we go to our next page where I just threw out this random chord pattern here, 1, 4, 5, and 6. If instead of 1, 4, 5, 6, we just make this one change here, change that to a minor 4, then we could have something that sounds unique and less predictable than the first one. So the first one again was, and let me play along with the stupid play along track that you have this week. 2, ready, go. So here's the 1 chord. And here's the regular 4. And then here's the 6. 1, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to go on to that next section, the 5. That would be an option. But now we're going to try using that minor 4 and let's see what that sounds like. So here's the 1 chord and... minor 4, 5, 6. So there's that. So you can try switching up the chord qualities on each of these. If you do too many of them, it's going to end up sounding weird. So if we do all of these opposite, we're going to go. Well, you start with 1, and then we'll go to minor 4. Then we'll go to minor 5, and then we'll go to major 6. This is going to sound, I think, super weird or totally awesome. We're about to find out. Ready, and... yeah, sounds weird to me. So you're going to want to use this sparingly, but that's one option. Now another one is to use borrowed chords. So back to this chart over here. A borrowed chord is just a chord that shows up in the parallel minor or major. So if you're writing a major song, try stealing one of these chords over here to see if that works. So that could be like a B flat or an A flat, or like we talked about, an F minor, or even an E flat, or a D half diminished. Those are the ones that are really different. The C minor, I guess, is also different. The G stays the same. So this G chord right here, and that G chord, the 5, is still major, no matter what type of key you're in, major or minor. But you've got all these other chord variations that you could use. So that'd be, for example, if you wanted to use that F minor, and then maybe go to a B flat. So we could use something like, if I go F minor to B flat, those are both borrowed chords from over here. F minor, B flat. Here we go. 2, ready, and...
lots of questions about how do I know if they're going to sound good or not? Use your ears. Try them out. That's the way that everybody else has done it. There is, like, for every example that I give you of here's the right way to do it, or here's the most common way to do it, we're going to find a zillion examples of someone who's broken that rule and sounds absolutely awesome. So you'll want to just experiment with these and see which of them you like. I would say probably making the 4-chord a minor is one of the safer, more common variations. But I mean, major 2 chords are really popular too, especially when they go to 5 chords. Man, all right. And then, yeah, major 3 chords are pretty popular when they go to 6 chords, but a lot of times a major 3 will also go to a 4 chord. Let me give you some examples of these. So I'm just playing at this tempo to get through the song quickly. It's not because this is like some great song or anything. D, which is a major 3, to an A minor, which is a 6. So, like, that's not a hard song to hear. Like, kids can sing that song. And it's got 2 weird chords in it, a D major and an E major, and it sounds just fine. It does sound different on those, though. You can tell it's like something weird is going on. It's not just like the safe pop song. Right there, it's like, oh, something different. All right, now we're back to safety and, oh, okay, there's something. Okay, now we're back to, and as long as we resolve here, I'm gonna be okay. Whew. All right, cool. So anyway, there's a song right there, accidentally, with a major 2 and a major 3. No borrowed chords from the minor that time. But anyway, tons of examples of all that. Hopefully that gives you some ideas of how you can start coming up with good chord patterns, and then you can distinguish each of your sections by changing up what you do with them. I wouldn't recommend using the same chord variations on 2 different sections. So if you use an F minor, for example, in the key of C, a minor 4 on the verse part, I wouldn't do that in the chorus, or vice versa. And then your common chord variations, we talked about changing the chord quality between major and minor from what is diatonically in your key on this chart, just doing the opposite of that, basically breaking the rule on purpose, seeing what it sounds like, or borrowing a chord from the minor that is parallel just meaning that it starts on the same note. So C major and C minor are parallel to each other. So using that parallel key and those chords from that parallel key to come up with some chord variations. And I think that is it. Yes? A feature of the day today, which is a progression of the day. So probably the most common chord progression is going to be 1, 5, 6, 4. So, or at least these days, it seems like that is the most common. So in the key of C, that's going to be 1, and then 5, and then 6, and then 4 in that order. Most of the songs that we cover, and most of the songs you guys request for me to cover are 1, 5, 6, 4 songs. So it's going to be something like 1, 5, 6, 4, something like that. Oh, I know what's going on. Tablet mode. Is that what's going on? Tell me that's what's going on. Oh, did we fix it? No, we did not fix it. Boo. All right, anyway. So 1, 5, 6, 4, that thing right there, or just twice as fast, 1, 5, 6, 4. Let me show you what those 2 look like so you know what the most common chord progression is. Here we go. So here's the first version where each chord gets 1 measure. second one. I'll start back at the beginning. And 1, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 1. So that is the most common, and fortunately that answers a lot of the questions we have about common chord progressions. So until next time, tomorrow we're doing like much more complicated versions of this. We're talking a little bit about lyrics too. I'm not a lyricist, but I can summarize Wikipedia for you and show you what I've seen in people that I've worked with who are working on writing songs. So we'll do a bunch more of these common chord variations. So join us then if that was fun today. If not, then join us next week. We're covering a song. So until next time, you know I love you. Good luck. Have fun.